behind the wheel of a piece of automotive history, but that's exactly what we're doing today. This is the 2020 Lotus Exige Sport 350, the flagship here in Singapore. Of course, it was the Elite Sport 220, but it's all about the flagship. Now, this car is as beautiful as it is on the outside, is just as amazing to drive on the inside. So Lotus entered the Grand Prix in 1960, and from 1960 to 1994, they won over 79 Grand Prix to date. But the motto for Lotus is very simple. Add power to make it faster on the straights. Subtract weight to make it faster everywhere. That is Colin Chapman's thought process behind the Lotus from back then until today. And a lot of those same design elements are in this 2020 vehicle. Case in point, we've got a monocoque frame that's designed in aluminum. Now, we've seen this going in other cars out there in the market, including McLaren, because this is a tried and true tested theory for a race car. It feels fantastic. It's nice. It's easier to adjust the suspension for a vehicle like this. It feels taut when you're around the corners. It feels exhilarating. Is this a comfortable car? Well, depends what you consider comfortable. For me, I love feeling the road. I love feeling every bump, no matter what it is. It's not jarring, it's exhilarating, and that is what the Exige Sport 350 is all about. Enough about me drilling about the car. Let's get inside and let's talk more about the Exige Sport 350. Now, when you first get in this car, you might think that this car can get out from under you because it's so lightweight and it's got so much power, but it's not the case. This car feels really well balanced. And because we have no assisted steering on this vehicle, it actually makes it easier to drive, believe it or not. Now let's talk about the brakes, AP Racing brakes. These things are precise, they feel fantastic, and adds more confidence inspiring when you're taking the twisties throughout this Mount Faber area here. Now, the gearbox is new this year for this Lotus, is that you can see right through the gearbox to see all the mechanisms and everything inside of it, which is a nice added bonus to this because this car is so raw in the way that it feels and the way that it drives that it adds more to that essence. Now, it's more of a aesthetic than anything else, but it looks really nice. And as I whip around these turns here, also, one of the great things about the Lotus is the monocoque chassis. And this has been one of its staples in terms of engineering and design since the beginning, and it really makes the driving experience so much better. It's a very stiff drive in that regard that nothing is flexing, right? It's almost like when you're riding a road bike, a monocoque frame road bike, you know, in carbon fiber, and it feels really good. It's got a lot of power transfer to it. You know, you put that foot on the accelerator and it just goes, but there's no flex in it. Now, this is also a mid-engine car, so that also adds to how the car feels planted around the corners and its acceleration and just its overall feel. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, of course, is the clutch on this car. Now, you do have quite a long throw on the clutch when you push in. And for some drivers, if you're new to driving manual, this might be something that you want to practice a little bit more. For me, it took me a couple days just to get used to this car, but once I did, it feels second nature, and you really know that you're into gear. And that's part of the joy of this vehicle, is just every shift, every turn, it's you doing it. It's not the car doing it. There's no sort of electronic assistance in any way, shape, or form. It's just you driving this vehicle. And that's what makes this Exige Sport 350 so phenomenal to drive and so exhilarating, is just that aspect alone. Now we're out of the twisties of Mount Faber into the open roads, and this is where this car shines because that linear power delivery due to the supercharger with this 3.5 liter V6, and it feels fantastic. This car just comes alive. Listen to that. Just the sound of that exhaust and that engine behind me just makes this, it's euphoric. It's something very unique. It's fast enough to take it to the track. If you want to grab groceries, you'll do it in record time. If you want to pick up your kid from daycare, you'll be the fastest parent on the planet. Well, depends on which car you take. But overall, the thing that excites me about this car is not just the speed and how light it is and how agile it is, but I actually appreciate the fact that it doesn't have a lot of options to it. that it is a very simple car in a lot of ways. Well, simple compared to a lot of cars of 2020. And the reason I say that is you've got 4 air vents, you've got 2 speakers, you've got a third-party radio here to the play, but that's it. There's no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto or Spotify. There's none of that in this car. It's you, the steering wheel, the car, the engine, the road, the tires. It's these essential things that make this car so unique. And I'm all for technology. I love what cars are doing nowadays, that cars can even drive themselves. But there's something to be said about getting into a car like this where you feel accomplishment every time you drive it, every shift you make. Like dropping in a fourth and how smooth that is. It's like, I did that. The car didn't do it, I did that. And there's a sense of accomplishment that you just don't get out of a lot of these modern cars. And that's fine. I mean, this car's not for everybody. I get it. Some people just want that nice, relaxing drive. They just want to say, look, guys, I just want to get from A to B. I want to do it in luxury. I don't want to shift. I want to be on my phone. I want to be listening to my music. And that's fine. That's great. I respect that. I like that too. But there's times where I want to just shut off my phone. Just close off the rest of the world and just be one with the car and the road. And that's what this car excels at. It is so much fun to drive, and it is so therapeutic. You know, when you get out of this car every day, you're like, I had a good drive today. I enjoyed that. And then you go into your garage and you see your car there and you're going, I can't wait to take it out again. And that's what the Exige Sport 350 does for me. It gives me that excitement. Now, of course, I've only had it for a couple days to test drive it for this review. But man, if I could have it longer, oh, imagine the adventures we could go on together. Of course, we're in Singapore, we can only go so far. Well, anyway, guys, it's been fun driving around this car today. I'm gonna wind down a little bit and, you know, maybe see some of the lights of Singapore in the evening. Of course, in this car, though, you think I'm getting out of it? No, you're peeling me out of this car. I'm not getting out of it. No way. It's me and the Lotus driving off into the sunset. Yeehaw! Now, when it comes to practicality with the Exige Sport 350, you're probably wondering, where do I store stuff, right? Because I got to travel, I got to do things. Well, it's a small car. It does have a boot or a trunk, depending on part of the world you're from, but you'll see in just a second. Now, one of the odd things about this vehicle is that to open the boot, you don't do it from the driver's side. No, you have to come to the passenger side with the lever right next to the seat here. Flick it. That unlocks the boot. Then you lift it up, and this is your boot space, right next to the engine. Now, as you can tell, it's not that large. So if you want to do, let's say, a 3 or 4 day trip with you and your loved one, and you guys pack pretty heavily, it's not going to work. A day or 2 day trip definitely can be doable, but I would recommend backpacks. Case in point, we got 2 backpacks here, courtesy of the crew, just to give you an idea of what you can store in here. Now, it is pretty deep on one end, so you can actually push the bag in quite deep on that side. And then there you go. So maybe 2.5 to 3 backpacks, maybe a bag full of groceries, you're pretty much covered. Now, here's one of the downsides to this, is that this boot space is right next to the engine. There's gonna be a lot of heat coming through. Now, there is some insulation here, but trust me, guys, if you wanna, let's say, bring, frozen foods home from the grocery store, they're gonna be cooked by the time you get to your house. If you wanna put electronics in here, I would recommend being careful about that. Long road trips, put them in the front. You know, short trips, you should be fine, but always err on the side of caution because, again, there is a lot of heat coming from this engine into this boot space. And to close it, all you gotta do is push this in, voila, it's closed. So my final thoughts on the Exige Sport 350. Yeah, I mean, you've got to know when you go into this car what it doesn't have and what it does have. And that's part of the charm and part of the characteristics and part of the DNA of Lotus. Yes, lack of storage space. We know that, it's a small car. You know, getting in and out of this vehicle is a little bit of a challenge. Yes, it's a race car, you know, for the most part. It's manual shift only. There's no Bluetooth, there's no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto or Spotify or any of that stuff. It's gone. That's okay. That's why we want this car. But the things about this vehicle that are so exhilarating and so much fun outweigh those small things, because this car is a spiritual connection between you, the vehicle, and the road. And once you give yourself to that, this car is so much fun to drive. I mean, that exhaust, that sound of that engine, the way it shifts, the way it turns, the way it responds to the road makes it so exciting to drive. And for that moment, I put my phone away. I put all my electronics away. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to be one with the car. And that's what this car expects from you. It demands you to be the best you can be. It will help you along the way, but it expects you to give the attention it deserves, and it will reward you. And that's why over the last couple days, to be honest with you, I've fallen in love with this car. This car is a lot of fun to drive, and it turns a lot of heads as well. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Exige Sport 350. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We've got a lot of great video and content coming your way, our love of cars, our passion for driving, and we hope you share that with us as well. With that, guys, be safe, take care, and we'll chat to you soon.